Hello, how's it going?
Well, it was going good, but I made a comment comparing you to Frogan the other day, and I wanted to say I didn't mean that. But what I meant by that Frogan comment was, you know how Frogan was that there was an era
I gotta be honest,
where,
mate. It feels like you're backtracking a little bit now. I must say, it
oh,
does
well,
feel
hold
like
up,
you're
well, hold
backtracking
up.
straight away.
Hold up. Let me explain it. You tell me if it makes sense to you. So you know how Frogan gets like no viewers on Twitch, yet she's blasted on like Drama Alert, Yeet, LSF. So what I meant by that is I had only assumed that you only had 60 viewers on Twitch. I didn't know that you had thousands of viewers on YouTube. So I just said, it's just another Frogan. Does that make sense? Or do you think I'm just like trying to lie to you for some reason?
Well, it does make sense. And I gotta be honest with you. There's another clip where, and I saw this a little while ago, but I didn't pay much heed.
Sure.
But you made some comment about me being ugly, okay? Now,
Well,
listen,
I mean, come on.
I'm long in the tooth. No, listen. Yeah. I'm long in the tooth. I understand this is what happens. We talk shit about each other, okay? But it just seemed odd to me that this comment seemed to come fairly soon after I'd released a video where I was skeptical of your response to the allegations against you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Obviously, that's going to piss me off. For sure. By the way, did I actually invite you to play Fortnite?
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
That's hilarious.
It was when I was in the middle of some other drama.
What was it? What drama are you in?
It was something to do with OTK. There was some sort of like, maybe the Mizkif stuff or something like that. I can't remember.
Which like Mizkif stuff? There's a lot. Do you remember which one?
I think the stuff when he tried to top himself. I tell you what, Tectone, you're being very pleasant now, aren't you? Very nice. What's that about?
Well, I'm usually a pretty nice guy whenever I talk to people online.
You seem very dismissive, and that I wasn't worth any consideration yesterday because I was at like a 60 viewer Andy. So like, what's changed?
Oh, because I found out that I hurt your feelings when I didn't mean to.
Well, it's not really about hurting my feelings. It's that you're quite a dishonest person, I think. And you were just hand-waving me away because you thought I was, able to just be knocked into the long grass without any much consideration. That's what it felt like.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess your apology is somewhat appreciated, but it's just kind of worthless, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're probably not going to talk ever again, but, I just made a comment where I compared you to Frogan, and nobody deserves that, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. You want to talk about your dad, I guess? Is that anything you want to talk about? Any problems with my coverage?
Wait, you want to talk about my dad?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you're aware of my coverage of your situation, which is probably why you're so pissed off at me.
I saw the thumbnail of the video, but I never clicked it.
Right, okay. Well, at least we can be honest about that, at least.
I think I have been pretty honest so far.
Okay. Except for when you acted like you had no idea who I was and hand-waved me away, but it was clearly because you were upset with my coverage.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Right now, we're engaging in a I feel like you did this and I feel like you did that, right? And that's, what's that really gonna do? You know what I mean?
Well, obviously, I can't prove how you feel about something. That's impossible.
Of course.
But it just seems like you were, extremely dismissive the moment my face popped up on the screen. And to me, piecing it together, that seemed to be because you were unhappy with my coverage of your situation with your father, and prior the coverage of your allegations, where I was somewhat skeptical of your response.
So the reason why I was very dismissive, and once again, I'm sorry, Chad, I hope that didn't bother you too much, was there was this era where you were always popping up on LSF, like Chud Logic thread after Chud Logic thread after Chud Logic thread. And I'm just like, who the fuck is this guy? And I think that was the general consensus for the majority of people who saw that you popping up on LSF was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, who the fuck is Chad? Right, and that's pretty much just it. Right, so like my thing is, why would I care about a person's opinion who I have no idea who they are? And that's pretty much just it. Now, I think you understand that like, I could have picked up this call, gone in on you, been an abrasive dickhead. It's very easy for me to do, but I have no interest in doing that. That's pretty much just it. It was just a comment of, I compared you to Frogan. Sorry, you're not Frogan.
No, sure, and like, and at the end of the day, we're obviously not going to be best buds or anything, right? But it just seems a bit bizarre that you.
One game of Fortnite could change everything.
Okay.
We go Tomato Town right now.
You're a little slit. I can see your little tactics, right? You're trying to build rapport. I see what you're doing. I see exactly what you're doing, mate. Okay?
I feel like I'm not doing anything. Am I going crazy?
No, it's fine. No. Listen, what I wanted to say is, if you were just real about it and you said, "Oh, Chud Logic, that's the tosser that fucking had to go at my dad. What a dickhead." I mean, what have I got to say? Like, fair enough. I fucking was mean and made mean comments about you. I get it. But it's the fact, and I'm, whatever. I've had it all the time. Big streamers saying, "Who is this guy?" It doesn't matter.
Hold on, let me.
But it just seemed like for someone that prides themselves on honesty, you weren't being 100% honest.
Sure. Let me see if I can give you any amount, because you're saying a lot of seems and you feel this way. Let me see if I can show you any proof of this. How do I do this? Is there any way that I can show you this.
Well, you bought your dad.
Well, I don't know if this helps, but like, if you can see my stream right now on this whole video where it says Tectone sobs when exposed for rapist father. Jesus, that's quite the title. Oh Jesus. I don't.
I mean,
correct me.
That's provocative. That's provocative.
Sure,
but I feel like you were being quite manipulative when you were crying about it. If we're going to bring that up.
Oh, you think I was faking the tears?
You could have been being genuinely emotional. I can't tell that, but it just seemed like it was quite a performative act that you were making because you were embarrassed about Hassan bringing this up.
You really have a lot of like bad faith in me, huh? Have you ever watched me anytime besides the clips you see online, or is this like your first time ever like seeing me at all?
I don't really watch your stuff that much. I've mainly
that
covered
makes sense. Yeah, I have to imagine the opinion that you have of me after only interfacing with me via like watching clips. You might think that was performative, but yeah, no, that was just me being really upset because the thing is, you know, when you have are you close with your dad?
Not really, no.
Yeah, so like I was very close with my dad, and when you're 16 years old, you don't want to think of your dad as like a fucking horrible human being. Like obviously I knew my dad went to jail, however, he told me that it was all a bunch of bullshit. That's why he only went for 90 days, and I'm like, oh, okay, 90 days, yeah, he probably just got, you know, fucked over, right? Then obviously I see all this shit come out online. It's a lot to hear that about your dad. I feel like it's kind of reasonable to be a little bit upset. I wasn't upset at Hassan for doing it, however, finding out about all that stuff about your dad is pretty awful. And then also people calling him a rapist, which just, you know, he wasn't a rapist. That's not a thing that happened, right? Like that's not the crime he was charged.
Okay, well, he didn't have forced penetrative sex with
of
women.
Course. Right.
But
yeah.
He did sexually assault them, I believe. I don't know the ins and outs.
So
exactly.
I mean, the proper thing to call him, people were calling my father the LeBron James of rape. He's not. He's more like the Max Verstappen of sexual assault, right? So as long as we can just be like, you know, honest with our titles, you know what I mean? So, you know, obviously there's a big difference. I think you'd agree.
Sure, I think that, you know, I understand where you're coming from, and I've got some sympathy for feeling emotional about that. I just always find it a little bit obnoxious when streamers present that super hard to their audience. It comes across like, you know, you see it as being real perhaps, but to me it just comes across as manipulative, and I think people are gonna, you know, buy into your emotion about it and have a certain take on the drama that they might not do without the emotion.
Sure, I do think that you would agree that, let's say I was doing that as a ploy, right? I was, you know, let's pretend, right? I think that you understand that that would be the biggest misplay to ever do, due to the fact that in the political sphere, the person who shows emotion always loses, right? So obviously that would have never been the proper play to ever do that, because the way to win in the political space is to just be neutral, act calm, ignore any criticism whatsoever, and continue to try to like brainwash your audience of a certain method. I mean, I feel like it's really not that hard to believe that a guy on stream found out that his dad is worse than what he believed, and you know, the idea that his hero is now a shattered version of that, and now they're probably not going to interact as much, you know, isn't really fun to deal with.
Sure. I mean, obviously, you know, I can't look inside your head and assess exactly what you were thinking in that moment.
Sure.
But I think it's misguided to think that an emotional reaction won't tee up your audience to have a certain response or reaction and support you off the back of that.
Yeah, but I think you'd understand that every streamer's chat's going to support them regardless, whether they're crying or not.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of like parasocial attachment and stuff that happens. Yeah, absolutely.
So like they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no reason to play it that way. And by the way, I do think it is very funny that you say how pleasant I am. I appreciate that, by the way. If you go watch any of my other content when I do podcasts, I hope you don't think that I'm like, you know, jerking your balls or, you know, blowing smoke.
Well, no,
up
not
your
at
ass.
all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it feels like, I mean, you know, you talked about me for a couple of minutes. It wasn't the be all and end all. Obviously, as a smaller streamer, I'd be stupid to not talk about that because a bigger streamer talking about you, as you know from your own experience, is often, you know, a good thing to bring up on your own stream.
Sure.
It just, the tone that you're bringing here is different to, I guess, maybe what I was anticipating.
Of
based
course.
on some of the comments you made about me.
Yeah, that happens a lot when I talk to people. I usually have that impression of, wow, this guy's the world's biggest jackass. This guy's the world's biggest dickhead. Oh, okay, well maybe not, and that's okay. I understand that. I'm known for giving the worst first impression.
It just comes across as a bit phony to me, if I'm honest.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can definitely believe that 100%. But yeah, I mean, if you just pull up any of my streams or any of my videos, it's just pretty much me all the time.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I say, obviously, you know, you've got your perception on the crying. I've got my interpretation of it. I can't
Sure.
see what was in your head.
I think it goes as simple as, if you like me, you'll think it's legitimate. If you don't like me, you'll think that it's performative. And that's pretty much just how it goes. Like, that's why I don't really worry about my public perception online, because it's always going to boil down to, if the people don't like me, they're not going to believe me. If the people like me, then they're going to fucking actually like me. And if people look into it, well, then people will actually believe me even more. And that's pretty much just it.
Because it's something you've done before. When you were talking about the allegations with your ex, you were crying about that on stream as well.
What? Can you refresh my memory?
I can't remember the exact point at which you did, but you definitely broke down in tears at some point, addressing, perhaps in regards to your own assault. I'm not sure. It might have been in regards to that.
Kind of like a hard thing to talk about, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that.
like, come on, man. I mean, like, sometimes
People
cry.
talk about tough. People talk about tough things all the time, and they're not in tears on stream.
Well, yeah, sure, but I'm a pretty emotionally connected guy. You can tell I get angry really easily. I get sad really easily. I get happy really easily.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's no way of, you know, like I say, demonstrating intent in what you're doing. I just personally always find it manipulative when streamers cry in front of their audiences.
Sure. There's a there's a video. You ever played a gacha game?
Yes. Yeah, I actually took a Genshin sponsorship a little while ago.
I'm so sorry. Did you like it?
Yeah. Well, no, because it was a 20 gig download, and you had to do it on the phone, so it was a fucking waste of time, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. There's this video of me pulling this character Kafka in Honkai Star Rail, and I got so excited I passed out on the floor. Yeah, and I like took off my fucking clothes. That was performative, but I like genuinely passed out for like 3 seconds. I think just my emotions are very charged. But yeah, I think you're from Britain. I can tell by your very thick accent, and I'm from America, so you can probably tell by my view on gun laws that we're probably just different. And I understand you're probably a pretty cynical guy, and that's okay. But yeah, just wanted to come here and say sorry for calling you Frogan, man. That's pretty much it.
Okay, I mean, obviously, you know, the other thing that I think it was probably worth bringing up whilst you're here in regards to your dad is, do you have any kind of thoughts about the fact that you used him in kind of the online discourse to back up your arguments about PTSD?
People keep on saying that I used my dad to back up my discourse. I believe what I said is my brothers didn't. What did I say? My brother, my father, and our soldiers didn't. Should I pull up the exact tweet?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know you referenced your father in it.
Yeah, sure. My dad was a soldier. My brother was a soldier. I'm from a military family, and I'm, you know, very supportive of our troops. I don't think I was directly using my father. He was also in the sentence, but I don't think I was weaponizing my father in any means. I just kind of just soldiers and how I have, you know, a good view of soldiers because I'm from a military family. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, sure. I guess the point that I'm making is, I mean, I don't know what your take is on this, and I appreciate there's been a lot of harsh comments from myself in regards to your father and whatnot.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you bring him up and bring him into the online discourse, of course you've got to expect that people are going to find stuff out about him and potentially talk about him, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that was my intention to bring him up and say, my dad's really cool, look at this fucking guy. Hassan, you're wrong, because my dad did this. I don't think I was doing that. It's been kind of odd to see like kind of the revisionist history that occurred. Maybe I'm just off the mark here, but I don't think I was doing that. But I do think it's just kind of weird how like, you know, Hassan would go after my father for like his criminal past when he has an uncle who's like talking about how bestiality should be legal and how he fantasizes about young girls at the beach. You know, I just feel like it's kind of weird. Like, where does the buck stop? When do we stop being guilty by association? When do we stop being guilty by, like, you know, generational guilt, I think is, like, a very stupid concept.
I mean, that feels like deflection. I don't think you're guilty for your father's crimes, of course.
Sure.
But I think you bringing him onto stream as well in a positive light, you know, it's kind of inevitable that this was going to come up and come back to bite you, right?
Well, you know, when you think your dad's a good dude, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I fucking stream all my family members. I've done it with my brother. You know, I stream with my mom. You know, like I just feel like it's like a kind of a normal thing to do for streamers, don't you think? Oh, also, here's the tweet. I have it pulled up. So the tweet says, I am genuinely considering full swabbing YouTube if this terrorist propaganda isn't punished harshly and immediately on Twitch. My father, my brothers, and our soldiers did not bleed, sacrifice, and die for this bullshit to be allowed and promoted on Twitch. This needs to be changed immediately. Yeah, which by the way, if Hassan looks into my brothers too, they're way worse. you know, they've killed people.
I mean, obviously,
yeah.
you know, I'm no Hassan fan, right? I'm not a Hassan guy, so
Yeah, sure.
you know, I'm not looking to defend Hassan on the basis of his family or whatever. But you know, it's just that you're invoking your father in order to try and get someone else deplatformed, essentially, only for them to have done things which potentially cause PTSD themselves, right? You see the kind of
Sure. So real quick,
irony there.
So you keep on saying like invoking my dad. Do you really think that post reads just invoking my dad? I was my father, my brother, and our soldiers, right? So me bringing them up was just to say that I'm from a military family. That's pretty much it.
Well, you're referencing them to bring an emotional weight to your argument, I think, is what's happening there.
Was I doing that? I think I was just saying, hey man, I'm upset about
Why
this
did you
shit.
mention him at all? Why did you mention him at all then, and just not say PTSD is bad and you shouldn't mock military people?
To kind of get people to understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, to add emotional weight to the argument. Yeah, exactly.
Sure,
you
sound like you know a lot more about the psychology term than me, man. I'm just a guy.
Well, no, it's not about knowing about psychology. It feels like quite an obvious, you know, intent that you're trying to achieve there, and you're acting like you're just kind of referencing them for the hell of it. Whereas to me, it's like to underpin it that you have got some direct knowledge of this.
It was more like to show why I'm so passionate about this subject.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure. If
are we saying the same thing?
Yeah, more or less we're saying the same thing. Yeah, sure. I just think there's this kind of denial because it's like you don't want to accept that there's, I don't know, it feels like you don't want to accept that there's some level of you doing that almost.
Okay.
Like, okay. Well, if we agree on that, that's fine. I mean,
I'm thinking maybe we're saying the same thing. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that was it. I mean, did you have any specific issues with anything I've said about you, your family, or anything like that?
I mean this genuinely. I don't know what you've said. I don't know. I don't know if you've said anything bad about me or my family. I just felt dismissive, and some of my chat was like, hey man, I think you're a little bit too harsh on Chud. And I was like, okay, let me look into him. Oh yeah, I mean, I guess he's not like Frogan at all. That's pretty much just it.
Wow. No, I don't. Well, you know, obviously it's up for people to decide. But
well, if you're like Frogan, I don't think.
Well, no,
like
I mean,
Frogan.
obviously I've got a very different tact and whatnot.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if you've got time as well, just briefly whilst we're on the line, Nuxtaku, I saw you react to that video about Nuxtaku.
Yeah, Nux, you don't like Nux?
Well, I mean, you didn't see my part of the video because you skipped it, so you maybe don't know what my kind of contribution or issue was.
All right, you want me to pull it up?
No, you don't need to pull it up. You don't need to pull it up. It's fine. You know. I'm
okay. What'd you want to say about Nux?
I don't know. I mean, I felt like you were quite favourable towards your friend when you covered him.
I think that's how most people are. I think that's how most people are. I'm not like a neutral journalist, you know. Usually people are pretty good to their friends, don't you think?
Yeah, of course, I get that. I mean, I've got people that I'm friends with that I absolutely would be kind of biased towards or more favourable towards. I just feel like you kind of watched this hit piece about him, and then there were some points where you kind of just like skipped over it or didn't really address certain aspects that were.
I think the only part I skipped was you because of the whole meme of who the fuck is Chud Logic on LSF. That was like 2 years ago. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And plus, you know, I mean, obviously, I will admit, you know, on stream I do play up a bit more of a dickhead than I am. I'm not going to deny that I'm a dickhead in real life. I absolutely am. But sometimes we like being a jackass a little bit for fun.
Well, why did you bother watching a hit piece about him if he's your friend? Why did you just, you know?
It didn't seem like a hit piece at all.
Oh, I see. So did you pick it because it was a bit more favourable towards him then?
No, I saw it, so I can give you the full context. So the guy's name is Royalty is Here, I believe. That's his username, the YouTuber who made it?
Yeah, that's right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
And so he made a video on me, and I just reacted to it on stream. It went very well. It was from 2 years ago. And everything that he said about me was out of context clips and bad faith arguments over and over and over and over again. And so I leave a comment, or I can't remember what I did. We interfaced somehow, and he said, yeah, looking back on this video, it was horrendous, and I apologize. I completely misrepresented you. And I said, okay. So the guy understands, and he was at least trying to be fair. And so then I see, oh, okay, this guy made a video on me that was an immense amount of bad faith. I wondered what he said about Nux. I clicked the video, and the dislike ratio was like non-existent. And I was like, oh, okay. So let's see how it goes, because the like to dislike ratio video on mine was fucking terrible. I think it had like 30% dislikes because it was just like completely horribly presented. But the guy apologized, said he doesn't stand by what he said, and so I just wanted to see what he said about Nux. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fine.
Oh no, sure. I thought you'd picked it because maybe it was like more of a attacking video, but it seems like you thought it was more favorable from the sounds of it.
Oh, well, the thing is, for me, is that I really don't worry about whether a video is fair or not, because as long as people know the full context of the situations, let's say there is a video that paints one of my friends or someone that I don't like in a bad light, and I think that you'll admit that I'm pretty fair towards the people that I get into discourse with. I don't really think I make things up, like call people a rapist or anything like that. I think I've been pretty fair, and I stick to comments like for example, I called you ugly. I think you'd agree that you're not really the best looking guy, just like I'm not the best looking guy.
Hey, sure. Yeah, I even said you got a point, to be honest.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like when I called Frogan fat, you know, she's pretty fucking fat, right? It is what it is. You know, hopefully we don't get banned. But yeah, like I don't really like say things that aren't, you know, pretty easily noticeable. I don't make up that people committed crimes or any of that shit, unless they do that to me first. Right? And then I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to fuck with me like that, then I guess the gloves are off, and I guess let's just make this as messy as possible. Right? Like for example, so Hassan called me a fucking rapist. He said, and I quote, "Brother has a generational familial obligation to rape." And so I lie about him, and I say that he's 45. You know? And that's, you know what I mean? I know that bothers him. And that's pretty much it, you know? But I think I'm a pretty reasonable guy.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the Nuxtaki stuff is like, there's so much deep-rooted drama in that. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. It just, you know, interesting to get some insight into why you watched that video. But
sure.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, that's it really, unless there's anything you wanted to talk about.
Have you always had viewers on YouTube?
I switched over to YouTube about 1.5 years ago. So
how did you?
Back when you came and invited me to play Fortnite, I had about 500 viewers back then, I think.
What a great guy. How did you think LSF was big for blowing up your career?
Yeah, definitely. It had an impact. I was always posted covering whatever fucking OTK drama was happening.
You like OTK?
But it got to not really, no. I think that, you know, it's kind of a double-edged sword because speaking shit about OTK people ends up getting you a bad reputation. And there was some gay study someone did, and apparently I was one of the most hated people on LSF, which is fine. I'm very vitriolic, I get that. But yeah, I think it had a negative impact in some ways.
Yeah, I do think, you know, after the conversation, I do think you have a lot of bad faith. I do. And
you think I say things I don't believe?
Sorry, what can you repeat that?
What, I mean, I don't know what you mean by bad faith. Because I would understand it to mean I'm saying things that I don't truly believe or something. Yeah,
so I think that you're going into this field as a neutral journalist, a neutral, like, perspective individual. But I think that if your biases and your opinions are entirely based off of just the clips you see, and you don't go to look for the further context, I do think that's going to lead you down a bad path to be hated, right? Because nobody should be judged by one clip that happened 4 years ago in the span of 30 seconds, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of the negative perspective that you have towards me, to where you even doubt how, what's the word? I guess, is corrigible a word? Is that a word? Corrigible?
I don't know. What are you trying to allude to? What do you mean?
I just think it's very funny how you came in here with a lot of bad faith arguments and perspectives, and you were like, I think you're faking being nice. I'm just, cordial, that's the word. Yeah, it's like, nah, I'm just like not doing that, man. I really pride myself in not being involved in all the rat race shit, because I'm pretty sure that you know.
I can understand you think that's bad faith. I'm just explaining it feels like, you know, you making this kind of shitty comment towards me and then being super nice is an effort to try and build rapport with me so we have a more favorable conversation. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Okay.
Maybe you're just a nice guy. Maybe you're just a really nice guy. Maybe you're just a really nice guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But to me, that's what it comes across like.
Well, I appreciate that. And I understand your perspective more. But yeah, if you ever want to come watch my stream sometime, and I'll watch yours. And once again, the
thing is, you know, I've got to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
I don't like big streamers because I feel like they've got this suffocating hold over like what you can and can't say about them. And already you're upset with me because I've criticized some aspect of your response, and sure, my editors put some shitty thumbnails out about you. But if we get closer, what if something happens and I need to say, oh, I think Tectone has done something terrible here? Well, you know, Am I going to get a knock on the door and you're going to be, oh, Chud, you can't be saying this?
No, trust me, and I think I know what streamers you're referring to. Trust me, I've dealt with my fair share of streamers where they're like, delete that, delete that, delete that. You can't say that, you can't say that, you can't talk to this person. Trust me, I get it. I know what you've probably gone through, and it's definitely very frustrating for sure.
For example, I know this is a sensitive issue for you, but if stuff happens with your ex and stuff comes out and I've got a different view on it, like, what impact is that going to have? Like, surely you're going to be fucking annoyed with me if I say, I think this guy did X, Y, and Z terrible
for real,
thing.
legit, this whole thing was that I just felt out of pocket for calling you Frogan. That's it. You can do whatever you want, man. You don't have any obligation to do anything for me at all.
Okay, dude. Okay, well, listen, I mean, based on nothing else, I guess I'll thank you for that,
Sure.
openness. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
And I guess we'll leave it there.
So, Fortnite or Tomato Town or?
I'm more into Warzone, to be honest.
Damn, that shit is old, bro. How old are you?
I'm 38.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You should try Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is way better.
I think I couldn't really get into that. I'm not into hero shooters. I prefer Battle Royale, to be honest. Maybe it's just my age, but of a slower pace, you know?
Yeah, probably. You ever play PUBG?
Yes. Classic.
That shit's
Classic
fire
game.
as fuck. Dude, I just don't know what it is, man. Like, Fortnite is cool, but the gunplay in PUBG is just fucking phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, I guess I won't bother you with too much more small talk. Feel free to do and say whatever it is you want to say. You won't catch me in your DMs, don't worry. But yeah, I just, it might be weird, but I, unlike iDubbbz, developed empathy at a very early age. And it was legit just, my bad.
Well, I mean, obviously it's very disarming when someone's as apologetic as you are. Obviously, yes.
You're not used to it, right? Not used to it. Most people double the fuck down.
Well, no. I mean, I'm just used to very slimy streamers acting in certain ways to placate people. But, maybe I'm wrong on this case. Maybe you are just genuine.
For sure.
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see, won't we?
Hey, dude, the moment I hang up this call, I'm going to say, hey, fuck this fat, ugly piece of shit. Yeah, but for real, do whatever you want, man. I just wanted to tell you my bad, and have a great stream.
Thanks. Catch you later, mate. Bye.
All right, peace. That is so funny to me how he thought that I was like faking being cordial. That was insane to me. I was like, dude, what do people think that I'm like? Yo, fuck this fat, ugly piece of shit. No, for real though. That is so funny how he thought I was faking being cordial. Like, holy fuck. Thinking that I was faking crying too. I was like, what? All right. Well, anyways.